All right, well, welcome to Alumni Night. Somebody told me it's 2015, so this evening is always an extraordinary one for me, and it's a great opportunity to see former students. Some of the folks sitting behind me have done this event several times, and we're really pleased by that. And there's some who are here for the first time, and I hadn't seen in quite a while, and that was a great and wonderful surprise. And Post Oak is an amazing place. I mean, we work with kids. Really, Sarah Mutri, you start working with them before they're even crawling, right? Okay, so those are the youngest kids that we work with, and then now through high school. So, that's quite an age span. That's almost an 18-year age span that we have a chance to work with kids. And to see them as they go year by year through that progression is a great privilege and a wonder to us. And so to be able to see them after they've left us and gone on and begun their adult lives, or find themselves in the middle of their adult lives, is a continuation of that same privilege. Whoops, they're going to shut me up here. And that Montessori's objectives in developing an educational system was more than teaching kids how to read and write and do arithmetic. It was literally to shape young people for a lifetime of success in their personal lives as well as their professional lives. And so that's what we want to get some feel for as we ask some interesting questions and invite some interesting responses this evening. So we're really pleased that you all are here. Faculty and staff, this is an opportunity for you to get that longer term perspective on your work. And so we're glad that you're here. Current parents and students will listen with a different set of ears. Because you're the parents, you're in the middle of this journey with your children of their education, and maybe this gives you a little bit of a glimpse of a long-term future. And for prospective parents who are here, we're pleased that you've come out and hope that this gives one more insight into who we are as a school, because we know as you go through the admission process, we have our decision about whether we think this is a good school, we're a good school for your family, and you've got your own decision about that to decide whether this school, from your point of view, is the right place for your child and your family. So the more information that we can get out to you in that, the better decision you're going to make when it comes to your side of that decision. So for Post Oak, this year is a year of transition. It's really been these last 5 years, and then the next couple of years, it's a period of change at the school. It's a shift from a school that for many years went through the 8th grade, working with kids, from that pre-crawling up through 8th grade, and now that we've are in the process of adding a year at a time for the high school, it is a period of transition for the school, and that's been a really a great thing to see as we've extended our reach into further into that period of adolescence and up to the cusp of adulthood in working with these students. introduce James Mudry, who's here this evening, who's our high school director. James, you could wave to everyone. You could even stand up. You get a good look. We may give James an opportunity to chime in at some point this evening. So the high school, for those of you who may not know this, is located in the museum district. We located it there intentionally so that we could access the resources of the museum district for the high school students and to be able to match up individual students with curators and experts in the museum district so that they can begin to explore lifelong interests. And that's been enormously successful. We're really pleased about it. Actually, as we're in the process right now working with architects to design the next building that's going to go on that museum district campus. We're going to be relocating our middle school, taking it off of this campus, taking it out off of the Bissonnette campus, and putting it on the Post Oak Center for Adolescent Education, which will house the middle school students in our current high school building and high school students in the building that's in the process of being designed at this point. So that's really a great thing to see happening. We also began 2 years ago an AMI teacher training course for primary age teachers, and Marani Smith, and Marani, it's okay to wait. Yeah, you can stand up too. Marani has really spearheaded that effort with the training center, and the course structure is that it's a 3-summer training course, and this coming summer will be the 3rd and final summer for those trainees, and then the beginning of the next course. And so our work as a school is not just with the students that we serve, it's also with the adults. And not only are we always a high-functioning professional environment from the faculty point of view, in addition to the faculty training that takes place in advance of going into the role as a lead teacher in the classroom in Post Oak, but it's also, we consider professional development a career-long activity for our staff. And the training center simply extends that work for us, and it's very, very appropriate. In fact, we are the only AMI training center which is housed in a school and in conjunction with the school. And I say that, and I'm almost accurate. There is a center in Minneapolis which has an association with the school. I need to go see that because I'm really curious about how that is set up. But it is almost unique that we have that relationship, and it seems to me that it makes perfect sense that the teacher training centers be in association with the school. I mean, how else are you going to see children at work as a part of that activity? And we also work with our parents. And I often hear from Post Oak parents, either current parents or parents of alums, who say, I learned to be a different parent. I learned to be a better parent because of all of the activities that you offered parents at the school, because of being able to simply observe the teachers at work. And teachers may or may not be aware of this. I certainly hear from parents all the time about, I watch how the faculty interact with the children, and first of all, I marvel at it, and second of all, I'm trying to figure out how to do that myself. So we don't work just for the children. We also work with the adults. Not only the professional faculty, but also the parents. And Montessori talked about that triangular series of relationships between the child and the parents at home and the teachers or the faculty at school. And I think that we live that as an organization. I mentioned that we're in the midst of working with architects right now. We're aiming to begin construction on the new building on the Museum District campus this summer. And then once that's completed, then in the middle school would relocate in time so that middle school would be on that campus for the fall of 2016. So you can keep track of that's a year out. And then during that summer of 2016 would be when we would do significant renovations in this building, because once middle school vacates, then we can do a number of things that we have planned here, including the construction of a new music studio here and the creation of a parenting center here to be housed at Post Oak, which will be really a great thing for us, as well as a number of other things, including, and parents have, I actually had a parent ask me during the week before Christmas, are you going to have a nurse's station in the building once you do it? And yes, we are. So no longer will sick children be lying on a futon in Jeff's or Ronnie's office as they're waiting for their parents to come and pick them up. All of this work is happening through the generous support of our parents, our past parents, and foundations in Houston. We're in the midst of a big work capital campaign, and so we've got a lot of work to continue to do with that. Some of you sitting in the audience tonight have already made generous contributions to that campaign. Others of you, we may come and talk to you at some point. We will come and talk to you at some point. In the meantime, we're just in the midst of the height of our enrollment season. Vivian, where are you? You're going to be here in just a minute, but I was just talking with Vivian before I came over here this evening, checking in to see where we are. She's got 35 tours lined up for next week, which I think is our last week of the tour season. Correct. Interest in the school continues to be incredibly high, incredibly strong. We are full, and we're really pleased. That's a reflection of the work that faculty do with the children on a day-to-day basis. I think it's a reflection of the work that we've done over a long period of time as our sophistication as a school has grown, as our reputation in the community has grown, as the reach and the aspirations of our program have grown. People know who we are. They know about Post Oak. When I first came to the school 20 years ago, the board said to me, "We are known as the best kept secret in Houston. We don't want to be secret," and we are not secret anymore. And it is a reflection of all of our work. And it's also because these folks, what they're doing in their lives, and also they keep telling their friends about the school as well. So I met one of our new parents the week before Christmas, and I walked him back to see his child in the Young Children's Community classroom, and he said, by way of introducing himself to me, I'm an old friend of Justin Boyer, and Justin is here tonight, so thank you all for being here. Okay, so this evening, to start things off, we've asked one of the panelists to speak for a couple of minutes to remarks of his own choosing. So Daryl DeVera is going to do that. Daryl finished Post Oak in 1990. He he finished here on this campus, but he came to this campus when it was brand new. So he also was across the street when we were renting space in the HISD building that was vacant at the time, and he was also on the campus that preceded that on Harwin Drive. So he really was a student when the school was going through its last, significant change of identity and of growth. He went on to Straight Jesuit High School, then went on to med school and dental school, and is now a dentist here in Houston. Not only that, but Daryl and his wife Laura are now prospective parents. So he thinks he's getting credit for the application process by serving on the panel and speaking tonight. You didn't bring Jacob tonight, did you?
I didn't bring him.
No. All right, Daryl.
Daryl Fairhead, as everybody heard. I'm just here to talk about my wonderful experiences here at Post Oak. You also have a great panel here that's here tonight. And this is always a great experience for me to come back. I think I always get the nostalgia of walking through the classrooms. So many great memories that I've had at the school. And as John alluded to, I did transfer from 3 different schools. They're not close to each other either. So, we had to travel pretty far from them. But it was worth the sacrifice, and I definitely love to come back and talk to everybody here tonight. A couple of things. This is my 5th alumni night, so I'm definitely wearing different hats. I am a prospective parent, so it's great. And recently, me and my wife have been going to different schools and visiting different campuses because we're going through the process of, what school do we want to select for our son, Jacob? He's 1 year old, and he's with his grandparents right now. And so we were very curious to see the different type of spectrums and different type of education that's available for him. And out of all the schools that we visited, we really feel that Jacob is best served for here. And here are a couple of reasons as far as traits and things that I've learned that have helped me through my adult life. One of the things that you're going to see tonight is that a lot of the students are very confident. Okay? We're confident in our own skin. I think we're confident in making decisions. We're confident in dress. And I think we're confident in a lot of these different aspects of life. Just because I think the free will that we get as students at such a young age, the ability to choose and make decisions, I think all that breeds a very confident student. By trial and error, you go through many different things as a student, and many times you do fail, but by choosing these things and making it an active learning process, I think that's forged and made a lot of these students that graduated or that have come through the Post Oak as being very confident. I also mentioned choice. Like I said, free will is very important, and I think having that choice, life is about making decisions. You make decisions every day. And at a young age, we have to choose, am I going to work on this project? These are 3 or 4 year olds, and it's great to see, am I going to work on something like the pink cube today, or am I going to learn how to tie my shoes today? And it starts as wonderful things, but then you see this at the middle school level, and it's the same thing. Am I going to work on film study, or am I going to work on different projects that we have going on? And it doesn't change when we go, in the working world and the social world and so on and so forth. So I think that's another important thing. The choices that we get is very important. It's very empowering for us. And the last thing that I think is also important is community. I think you develop a great sense of community. Again, we're placed in a lot of these environments. You have 3-year-olds with 6-year-olds, 5th graders with 4th graders with 6th graders. And so there's a lot of collaboration, okay? There's a lot of cooperation. And it's a unique thing to see a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old in the same room. And having the ability to be a mentor, having the ability to be a student. I think all of those things strengthens your character, strengthens your ability and your sense of community and giving back to that. So I think that those are all very important things. And I don't want to take up too much time because there's a lot of great answers that are going to be asked or answered today, but I would appreciate it. Make sure that we ask a lot of questions, because I think as a good post-oak student would do, We ask a lot of questions, and that's how we get a lot of our answers. Thank you.
Okay, well, Daryl, you're going to give me a run for my money over here. Thank you for all your words and talking about very much what we talk about in the tours. What do we see, observe, and take a look at what's going on, and look at the 6-year-olds with the 3-year-olds, look at the 9-year-olds with the 6-year-olds, etc., in that multi-age level environment. And we have different levels here as well. We've got parents, prospective parents, staff members, who also happen to be your parents here as well. But anyway, thanks again. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody here. John talked about transitions. Okay, we talk a lot about transitions from one level to the next. And I want to talk and ask you guys about your transitions. Okay, so either you were here for a few years, a number of years, you graduated with me before we had our high school, you finished 8th grade here, and you're here for, I know, Pally, you were here for a number of years, a good number of years, right? For those of you all who left for high school, what was your transition like from this school to high school? I get a lot of those questions in my tours. What happens when? And I know that now we have a high school, but we want to know what happens after. So who would like to start and talk a little bit about what comes next in your transition?
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here tonight and representing Post Oak. I did a lot of transitioning during schools. I went to St. Paul's and St. Francis before coming here, did K through 5 here, and decided that I wanted to try out public school. So I went to Spring Branch and then Memorial High School for 2 years, then came back to Episcopal. And something that I notice is I'm very ADD, and I thrive in this type of environment because it's very sort of project-driven. It's a very creative place. I'm sure as prospective parents, you're deciding on what environment would be great for your kid. And for me, I liked that it was hands-on, and that it was you drive the projects yourself. You choose. So to answer that question, going to public school, I felt the public school environment, it offers its own benefits, but it's a lot more about sort of conforming, being in the rows of seats, and what distinguished me, I guess, from my peers in that sense a little bit is that I felt confident. I felt that I was able to tackle projects in sort of in a creative sense.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm Allison. I went to school here for lower elementary and upper elementary. I have 2 kids here now. So I have a story that I've told a couple of you guys. After I left Post Oak in the 6th grade, I went to St. John's. And in my classes there, one of the first questions that I would hear other kids asking after we were introduced to material is it going to be on the test? And I had never heard that question before, because we here at Post Oak, or as Daryl said and John mentioned, the emphasis here was on a holistic approach, the whole brain and the whole mind working on something to learn every aspect of the subject. So when we would go to school and I would hear in my new environment, is this going to be on the test? To me, the implication was, because if it's not going to be on the test, I'm not going to bother learning it. And that was an interesting new experience for me. As far as transitions in other respects, socially, I think folks here have somewhat of an advantage going into a new situation because of the experience working with children of different backgrounds, different ages, working collaboratively, having autonomy. I am going to wrap this up, but I saw one of my guilty pleasures is Slate. There's a Dear Prudence column. Sorry. One of the letters today was from parents of a college student who said, gosh, you did really well with this accelerated learning program at this very late high school, and since he's gone to college, it's kind of like he's rudderless and directionless and doesn't really know how to manage his time, how to manage his responsibilities. What should we do? responsibilities. And maybe this was the first time he's ever had to do that. And that really struck a chord in me, knowing that I was coming here tonight. That's what I'm trying to avoid with my own kids. And I think that being here, we're on the right track, because the folks here have an opportunity, even as early as 14 months, to make choices, realize the consequences of those choices, good and bad, and then get practice at that all throughout.
Abby?
Hi, I'm Abby Kamen, and I graduated from the middle school in 2001, and I started in lower elementary here at Post Oak. And in response to your question, it's not so much for me how well did you transition to high school, it's what did you bring with you that had you be as successful as you are. And for me, it was just an appreciation for education and being challenged and driven, and that education is something special, and it's what you make it. And I had a similar path as Justin. Before middle school, I looked at going to Spring Branch, and again, I chose for myself that Post Oak was the right place for me because of the structure, because of the trips to Blackwood Farm, and the people that I had grown up with and known, and the education I knew I was going to get. After middle school, I went to Memorial High School for a year. And again, it wasn't so much that I didn't fit in or was having problems socially or anything like that. It was more my appreciation for the type of education that I wanted and where that was going to take me. So I ended up graduating from Emory Wiener, which I was the first graduating class there, so it's very similar to where the Post Oak High School is at the moment, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. And I'll speak to the high school, even though I don't have any experience with it, but to be in a new school where the young people have an opportunity to contribute to what that school is going to be and what it is right now is a really, really incredible experience that builds leadership and really allows students to grasp for themselves who they want to be. So,
Thank you, Abby. I actually appreciate your rephrasing of the question, because I think it's important that we talk about outcomes. Not about what we're going to learn on the test, as Allison talked about. What are the outcomes? What are our expectations? And what are the students' expectations? And I think it's important to rephrase the question, so I thank you for that. A couple of things. On your chairs, there are biographies of all of our panelists, and don't read it now, listen to them, but find out what they're doing now with their lives, and kind of what they took with them when they left Post Oak. And I want to say also about the high school, I've talked to a number of the panelists. For our visitors here, reminding that next Tuesday at 7 o'clock we do have a high school open house, the admission open house. If you have not been to the high school, and I invite everybody here to please come and see what that's like. You really want to see what's next, let's go take a look at it. I think it's important to include that as part of the whole admission process, not just to come to Alumni Night or the prospective parent classes, but also to see what's going on in high school. So that's with that. Okay, so let's go back, way back, okay? We're talking about we're back when the building was built. Well, what are your first impressions? What are your, not your first impressions, let's say, your first impressions coming back here. Allison, we know, if you have not read Allison Wong's the post article about her experience coming back as a parent for the first time, please go to our post online and take a look at that. But what are your first impressions coming back after so many years?
I'll go.
Thanks, Maya.
Hi, I'm Kyle Chana. I have a almost 4-year-old here. He's in primary and Mary Winton's class. I attended Post Oak for primary and lower elementary. And when I first came back for a tour, I actually had to take 2 tours. The first one, it was, as Vivian was speaking, I was going back in time, remembering those chairs and doing those activities and doing that work and sitting on the line and remembering people and friends and teachers. And then I had to come back so I could focus on my child and what he was going to learn and what he was going to experience here. As far as the first thing that came to my mind was joy, happiness. I had such an amazing time here. I can't be succinct about it because it's emotional. The work that I did, the choices, it's hard to, I'm not a Montessori teacher, but from what extensive, you guys, I'm going to go through extensive training, but what I had to, the fact that I was given choices to do my work, that has stayed with me to now, and that type of training has helped me be an entrepreneur now in my life, and has helped me get through engineering school, get through business school. I think I transitioned to public school, and I think I lost a little bit of that love of learning when I was in public school, but I kind of regained it back, especially when I've seen my son here. And you know, like John was saying, you guys help the parents. You're not just helping how to teach them, but you even help us how to live life. So my first experiences were joy and happiness.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
So, I'll speak to tonight. When I came in, when you walk in, you see all the flags, and right when I walked in, I saw Manuel and had this whole conversation with him in Spanish, and talking about our families in the past years and where he's from, and I can't emphasize enough the internationalism of this school and the emphasis that Post Oak places on diversity. They were doing it before it was really in style, and that's very evident in the admissions process and who your classmates are and all the places their families are from, and I think that teaches a certain acceptance, a certain higher level of. You mentioned, when I transitioned, what did I bring with me? I think that was a very big thing. I just spent the last 2 years working in Panama, and my new role is at International One, where I'm traveling a lot. And I started learning Spanish here with Teresa and Ofre upstairs. I took a trip with Johnny Denton and the Whites to England when I was 11 years old, England and Scotland, for a trip that we opted in on, and it was a historical trip. So the opportunity to travel all over England and Scotland and see all these amazing things, and we had to do the geography and learn all the all the capitals, all the countries all over the world. I mean, that is something that my interactions here and that focus on internationalism has had a huge impact on me. And the last thing I'll say is this school has grown a lot. It's a lot more sophisticated, and in a lot of ways it's the same, but in other ways, whether it be the gym or the library, all the facilities, it's clear that the school has grown in a very positive direction.
Hey, Vivian, can I sneak in one thing? So y'all can just go read the post. The thing that struck me when I came, you should totally go back and read the post. Like when I went on the tour for the first time, the thing that I noticed was everything is so tiny. Because I was thinking of my 14-month-old, and I just thought, gosh, everything is really small. And then I went to Sarah's class at the Motherhood Center, Sarah Madry, and it was explained to me why that is so important, the prepared environment. That, I think, is where you start to see that little people can build their confidence in mastering their environment and feeling confident in their place in the world and their sense of order. Sorry if I butchered that, Sarah. But it's important, and it translates at home, and I think it builds their confidence such that when I'm at home now, I was in the living room and I saw across, the kind of open floor plan, a little head, the refrigerator door opened. That's weird. And then this little head pops up, and I realized that my daughter, who was 2 something at the time, had been able to develop this sense of order. She opened the refrigerator door, brought over a stool, set it up, served herself some cheese from a very high shelf. And I thought, I did not show her how to do that. She just figured out how to do that. And I think part of that, for sure, was because she was here with Phoebe and Tamara Townsend, developing confidence in her ability to problem solve. She had a goal. she wanted to do something, and she set about figuring out how to accomplish it. And so, yeah, tiny things.
Tiny things for lifelong learning. I don't imagine, that in 20 years from now or so, when I meet her, that she will be, continue to take stools to the refrigerator, so to speak, and make things happen for herself. So without putting several of you on the spot, those three guys in the middle over there, so we talk about tradition and the Montessori method and tradition carrying on for well over 100 years here. But let's talk about personally what traditions did you maybe start building here in this school and now take with you as you guys are adults? I mean, we've got professionals and we've got a college student over here, but what things did you take with you besides just, I'm talking about, I don't know, figure out the answer to that odd question.
I knew this. I wanted to bring this up even before you asked the question.
Good, okay.
My planner. My daily planner I bring with me everywhere. I still use it, but I'm an attorney now, but not just in my career. I was using it in high school before anyone was. I was using it in college when nobody was. And now it's easier and you have computers, but I still carry my planner with me everywhere, and that I absolutely took from Post Oak, without a doubt. And it seems like a little tiny random thing, but the organization behind it and the wherewithal of what you're going to accomplish during the day, what do you have in existence this month, all of those things started here.
Thank you.
Hi, Masood. It's great to be here, and thank you. What I took from it was, I'll go back to a story. I had a teacher here, and I remember one day I was coming to school here, and I saw a dump truck or a large vehicle, and it was just spewing all of this black smoke, and I didn't know if it was, I was like, oh, that can't be good for the environment. There's such an emphasis on the environment, and we're part of the environment here, and that's something that was completely new. So that is, in a sense, a tradition. However, the one thing, I just remember being upset about that and coming to school. And I went over and I talked to my teacher, and I said, I saw this dump truck here that was, spewing all this smoke, and it just was bad for the environment. And he said, okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about that? And that's really what it comes down to is, you can identify all the problems, and that's always going to be your first step. But what is going to be your goal? If you're going to put time and effort into something, what's going to be the result? Why am I going down this path? And they want you to make efficient use of your time, because you can make more money, you can get other possessions, other materials, and things like that, but you can't get your time back. So even at such a young age, we didn't even realize, I guess it's kind of similar to what you brought up about that, but it's just kind of a different angle, is that time is important. You need to be using your time, whether or not, even if you're just hanging out with your friends, if that's what you really want to do, well, that's great, but what is your goal? What's the purpose? And I think that was something that really was instilled in me, and I still, use to this very day.
I remember always asking questions, and that just stayed with me. I don't really care what I'll ask again. I'll ask in a different way to this day. And I even took Sarah Maggie's class, and I think I asked the same questions in different formats on different days. But I remember doing that here and having confidence. And then I remember going to public school, and they used to say there's no such thing as a dumb question. And it always puzzled me, because I never thought that way. But then I realized people have difficulty asking questions. They're afraid, or they're nervous, or lack of confidence, but I don't care. Just ask. Still do it.
Thanks. Let me ask you a question specifically. Do you mind if I do that? So I know that you were part of the first Post Oak Peddlers, right? Were you not part of the
What?
Peddlers?
Peddlers, yes.
Peddlers.
So the Post Oak Peddlers was our MS-150 team, and each year, maybe midway through April, there's a bike ride from Houston to Austin that raises money and awareness for multiple sclerosis and research, and basically moving towards a cure. And the Post-Oak Peddlers was the middle school team that was spawned, I guess, because there was enough interest to make this ride happen, I guess. And so we took on the name the Post-Oak Peddlers, and I did it my 7th and 8th grade year, but it was an amazing experience because most of the middle school class at the time became part of the Post-Oak Peddlers, and every Thursday we would do a training ride on the bayou. We had parents who came and rode with us, who never really would have gotten out on a bike, if it weren't for the fact that their kids were doing it. So a really great group came together, and every Thursday we would ride, and Saturdays we ended up doing longer and longer rides until we were going out and doing 50 or 60 miles on the weekend. And it was awesome to go out and do that with your friends and have the support of everyone who was out there with you. And obviously I loved it enough to do it again my 8th grade year. And then when my sisters were in middle school, I was in high school at the time, but I came back and rode with the Post-Oak Peddler team. And it was really fun again to do that as a high schooler because I felt more like one of the, more of an experienced person, like one of the parents maybe whenever I was in it. But I got to, work with, basically teach whereas before I had been the learner, and that was a lot of fun. Is there anything specific, I guess, about that?
I think you touched everything that I did. That was great. Thank you. Abby, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, just to tack onto that, I think in just bringing up the Post-Oak Peddlers, and even since I was a little girl, the school has always encouraged community service and community awareness. And whether it was when I was a little girl, Pennies for Peace, we did here. And my mom actually has a foundation, and the school allowed her to come in and create programs with the students. And that's another thing is allowing the parents to be so involved as a partnership is really incredible. But everyone I think has been touching on the social awareness and just the opportunities that the school allows them and encourages to take in whatever that passion is, whether it's the environment, whether it's MS or Pennies for Peace, things of that nature.
Well, that actually brings us pretty much full circle to what Daryl and I were talking about before, also at the very beginning of the evening in terms of giving back. And I do see that common theme running across our panelists. I want to thank you all very much. I do want to actually ask our audience if you have any questions you would like to ask our panelists. I've been talking too much tonight, and invite everybody to please just ask questions. I'll bring you the mic so everyone can hear. And I have more questions. I really know somebody else has got to have one here. Great. Okay. Here we go.
I want to know, as young adults, if you have had conversations with peers that have been raised in traditional education that get to this age, family-wise, personally, career-wise, and they found themselves lost right now. And if you see that the fact that you've been empowered by your own choices and having to learn your own consequences have helped you somehow find yourself and make you more of a found adult, personally and professionally.
I guess I can start. It's interesting you asked because I grew up, the first 10 years of my life were spent in the Austin area, I guess just north of Austin, and the second 10 years were in Houston. And I have two really good friends who I knew from when I was in Austin, and I still keep in touch with them, but one of them ended up, they both ended up dropping out of college and kind of taking some time. One went to Spain and spent a year there, and the other, I think, is actually, he was in Israel for a while. But I was talking with my mom about how kind of odd it was that both of my really good friends ended up sort of losing themselves and finding themselves without direction, and, going on making an effort to go out and find themselves and find what it is that they want to do, and how obviously I haven't had a similar experience, and I think it's because being raised in the Montessori tradition, there is a tradition of kind of self-confrontation on a daily basis, and for me that has helped to continually realign myself with, and reassess what it is that I'm doing, and even at that moment, or in the near future, what am I doing, where do I want to be, and how can I get on the track to be where I want to be, basically.
That's what she said. That's what I want for my little one. That's what we all want, right? Nice to have direction. Allison, go ahead.
Yeah, that was amazing. I wish, that's amazing. Yeah, that's crazy. Because I think that one of the...
It goes back to the time management.
Exactly. Yeah, and so, you said young people, so that probably wasn't directed at me, but the thing that's on my friends who are my age, their minds, is who have kids that are the same age as my kids, is making educational choices and, for prospective parents out there. I think one of the things, like you said, the self-confrontation, that's amazing, and I love that because I think one of the things that that having been here as a student and being a part of the community as a parent is giving me confidence and courage to be led by and making educational decisions what my children need, who they are. I think I understand who they are. I think I understand their strengths and weaknesses. I think it's because I've been encouraged by these people, these wonderful people, to pay attention to them. And so my friends are making educational decisions now for their young children. I don't think they have that freedom. I don't think they have that ability to say, let's have a real honest look at what's happening and what would be best for my child. I think they are used to being on sort of a conveyor belt. It's what they know. They think that's the only answer, and I think it's challenging for them to think outside the box and to be courageous and make a different decision.
Yeah, I guess in comparison, in comparison to a lot of my colleagues, I think even the successful ones, they've just grown up in this the life of I need to have good grades. And from there, I can get into a good school, and then from going to a good school, that's going to get me a good job, and then from getting a good job, I'm going to have money. So even the ones that are successful, I still think that compared to me, as far as just my mentality is, I don't necessarily worry about what we learn. I have these confidence to know that the way I learn stuff here at Post Oak is going to carry me wherever. And so I think sometimes the friends that I mentioned, they feel a little empty because the reason why they were doing all these things were just a means to an end. And I think we enjoy learning just for knowledge and just things that we do.
I have, I'm just remembering, and I just remembered I have actually two friends that are physicians, very successful, but did not through the traditional method. At this stage in their lives, they have said to me they're very unhappy. It's very sad to hear that because it's so much education and helping lives, but yet they're very unhappy inside. I don't have that. I feel like there's a mindfulness maybe that Montessori teaches, and grants, like I said, these people are geniuses, like what they do with the kids and how they bring that. But maybe that's what it is. That's what I can use.
It's like a different definition of success.
Yes.
And it's like that comes from within versus it being external, financial,
yes,
or possessions.
I think it's like Montessori looks at the whole child, it looks at the whole environment, it looks at how the child connects with the environment. And I think when you look at the standard way, they're looking at how to become financially successful. Okay, but I mean that's one way of defining success. So I think as a parent, one needs to see what you want your child, how do you want your child to be successful, you can define it maybe.
Okay, Justin, and we'll see if we've got any more questions from the audience. Go ahead, Justin.
Sure, I just wanted to add real quick is that everyone ultimately defines success for themselves in their life, what that means to them. And I can't emphasize enough again that the Montessori way is so focused on the individual. We're going to do a lesson, and then for the rest of the afternoon, you're going to go out and you're going to be responsible for this project. And that is how you learn, as opposed to teacher in front of the classroom, everyone's in neatly ordered rows. And so I think that focus on individuality works really well with some people. And most of my colleagues that went here developed that sense of individuality, ownership of their tasks, and confidence and ownership of their life and their success, if that makes any sense. The majority of
Can I add something? You just reminded me. So I transitioned to public school, and then I ended up deciding to do engineering because I wanted to challenge myself for college. And it was my senior year. I was able to do an independent study my senior year in engineering school. And I remember that was probably I scored the highest grades, I think. And I go back, now I think about it, it's because it was a freedom to do what I had to do, to make my own time, and just to get to the results. I just knew what I knew what I had to do without having somebody to tell me what to do. So that was a different way of success, right?
Okay, anybody else? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody else have questions? Faculty said, yeah, go Laura, go ahead.
My question, I'm Laura, my husband is actually Daryl, but my question isn't for him. It's for you two girls. Being a prospective parent myself, and being married to Daryl, and I see how a lot of these things have impacted him, I'm just kind of wondering, when you started your child here, was there a certain stage that you started seeing a big difference in them, or even changes that you had to make to adapt back to it? Because I can't imagine that you really remember what it was like being 3 here. Or were there changes that you had to do to your parenting style?
Yeah, so Ray started when he was 22 months, maybe, and Julia started when she was 14 months. So by the time Ray got here, he had spent some time in a more traditional daycare setting. And I did start to see a change in him in that he was so little, but I do think that his confidence began to grow. The biggest change that I had to make was to let go a little bit. Because I started hearing, I do it a lot. And I have said before, like, that's super when you're putting your clothes away, but like when you're potty training and, anyway, that's a little hard. But, so that's the toileting, sorry. That's the thing that I had to do, was like, to let go and to have confidence in them and in their ability. Then when Julia came along, it was so much easier, because I feel like I had learned enough to understand what she truly was capable of doing. So it was not, I heard Marani say this, I think it's hysterical, I think it's so true. Montessori, I think, really is for every child, may not be for every parent. So it was a transition that I had to make, and by the time Julia entered, on the day she turned 14 months, we had pretty much figured it out.
I think, so my husband grew up traditional, and I grew up Montessori and traditional. And so the big change was for my husband, because I didn't have to explain to him what I did or how I wanted to raise my son. And it was helpful to go for the parenting classes to see the videos, so he understood. As far as my son, Dave started when he was around 18 months. And I think there were magic numbers. I think probably after 3 months I would see a change, and another 3 months. But he was satisfied. There was a sense of satisfaction. There was a lot of boredom I saw in his face before entering Montessori. And that satisfaction and content is just, a mother can see that in their kid's face. So I saw that, and I saw the independence. And I also changed the environment, which is nice, because it's like let the child adapt to your environment versus, going crazy in a bored, childproofing it. No.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? I want to thank you guys very, very much. This was very interesting, and I really appreciate your time coming out tonight. And I'm really grateful for all of your words. I can't plan this. I can't script it. I did not script this for you. So for those in our audience, know that these words are coming from them all on their own. I did not cue them on anything. I really just... I'm really grateful for that and appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And I thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to be around for just a few more minutes, and I want to thank you and have a good evening.